Hey, everybody. It's Sterling and Linda Sunday.
Good morning, everybody. Good to be with you. Good to be good to be anywhere during the pandemic, right?
Right. And thank you guys for all your questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Love to ask you questions, my friend.
Yeah, and then a couple of quick little things at the top of the show that we were going to say was that we have the new Dead Famous show coming up this Friday, April 16th.
Right.
And but we're actually expanding the category a little bit. We call it Dead Famous, but we start off with like old Hollywood, but we're expanding the category to include famous music artists and sports athletes and important politicians as well. So it's still Dead Famous, but it's a little bit more of expansive meaning. So we'll be covering all that on my channel. It'll be a recorded show, and then I'll post up on my channel on probably Friday afternoon.
Right. Okay, great. Okay. So the next Friday at what time was it?
Well, we're recording the show,
so that's
it
right.
will be
So
posted on my channel later on the afternoon Pacific time. Yeah. So.
All right. Here's our questions. From the other side, does Prince Philip have a message for us?
He does, and as we all know, he just passed away recently. 2 days ago now, something. But I was not that familiar with him. But what was interesting was that I kind of wanted to sit down and have a chat. I mean, the first thing he said was, "Boy, was he glad to be on the other side," because he felt like he really lived out he lived the purpose. He did all the things he needed to do here, and he was kind of ready to go because of a lot of the health issues. But the other thing he mentioned to me was he kept bringing up World War II and the Germans. And I'm like, well, that's kind of an interesting thing. But he was very proud of his stint, the things he did in World War II in defending and going against the Germans. So it turns out he saved a number of lives, apparently. And so I had no knowledge of any of this, but I thought that was interesting. I like when they come across with validation factors.
Yeah.
So
did you look it up?
Yeah. I did, after the fact, I said, so what's all this World War II? And I'm proud of the things they did with the Germans. And wouldn't you know it, right after his death, a press release came out that said now they're pointing to his heroic things he did in World War II and saving a bunch of, I think, shipmates from the Germans by throwing like a fiery raft into the water and redirecting, I guess, some German offense or something. So I thought, wow, I told Linda, look at that. They just released the press release on like right after his passing. So I gotta tell you, Linda, it's always strange. I'm like, World War II and the Germans? What's all this about? So
right.
Anyway, so he's good. He also says he's going to help with kind of unifying the public again with the monarchy, because things were getting a little crazy there, right? With all the Oprah Winfrey interview and some of the things about racism. So he's going to work hard on the other side to try to unify the public and the monarchy as well. Good guy.
Okay, cool.
From what I saw.
Yeah. Okay. With the passing of Prince Philip, what will the monarchy do next? Will the Queen step down?
What I get on that is I certainly see that they're starting to put plans in place. And I do believe that it looks like this year they're going to try to accelerate some of those plans. So I don't necessarily see a stepping down this year, but it looks like they're going to accelerate the plans because now, she wants to make the transition. So I do see them a lot of discussions behind the scenes this year. I do.
Okay, but just discussion?
Just discussions for me.
Is she going to die and then Charles takes over?
It sure looks that way to me. Yeah.
Okay. I've always felt that she would die and then he would take over. But
yeah,
she's
it looks like there's
bird.
She is, but it looks like there's kind of an intersection of the planning process and then the passing. I'm saying so
Okay.
They intersect, so there's a passing before all the plans get put into place.
That sounds correct. Yeah. What is Russia trying to do in the Arctic?
Well, they're certainly trying to establish a stronghold in the Arctic. But the good news is that the U.S. is completely aware of this, and I don't feel there's going to be a conflict in 2021, but I do feel there's a lot of aggressive dialogue between Russia and the U.S. on behalf of the Biden administration, because Russia is trying to take a stronghold in the Arctic and really wants to lay claims to it, but they'll be stopped by the U.S.
Okay, because they have a particular weapon that causes great tsunamis. They blow it up
They,
underground.
they have a couple of weapons that they developed, including a new advanced underwater torpedo, which is incredible in size. But that will cause a tsunami as well. So they have a number of weapons, but more importantly, and I know this to be a fact, they have something like they install 5 major bases around the Arctic in which they're trying to control landing strips. That's where the U.S. is going to get very aggressive this year in terms of counteracting that.
Yeah, because if they do one thing, it's over for them. Because we're strategically already
Yeah,
placing our nukes over there. So
yeah, and nobody wants a nuclear war. Even the Russians don't want a nuclear war, because we all know how that ends.
right.
So right, but I think they're really good about kind of pushing the line in the sand, so to speak, right? Draw a line in the sand, they keep pushing it. So,
Okay, here's a good question. Every news outlet is using a photo of Matt Getz, Joel Greenberg with Roger Stone. Will Stone be implicated in the Getz Greenberg investigation? And will their sex trafficking indictments also link to Trump and Jeffrey Epstein?
I get completely, the answer is yes to that, because they're all involved in the same money transfer, and the things are going around Epstein and the money flow over from Russia. So they will completely, as a matter of fact, I think it looked like the Southern District of New York and the FBI already have a lot of this information anyway. So I
Okay.
guess the question is more like, will this come out into the press? And yeah, they'll come out into the press, what's already known. Yes. Yeah.
And Getz acts like he's king for a day, like he can't be stopped.
Well,
And I
I think
wondered
that,
if he has something on major players.
yeah, by the way, I think part of it is what I'll call a Hail Mary pass, right? So even the people that are completely guilty will say, just so you know, I'm 100% not guilty, as the ship's going down. So I think there's a Hail Mary pass going on there. Yeah.
Right. Okay, will there be an increase of jobs in the green sector that helps increase the productivity of our economy this year?
Yeah, absolutely, because I still see the $2 trillion stimulus program. Well, it's the infrastructure program going through, the one that's being talked about right now. There's a lot of green investment in that proposal. So yes, absolutely, this year we'll see starting of that. Yeah, we'll.
How can you tell the difference between the universe guides giving you a challenge to overcome and them telling you to stop because you're going the wrong way?
So the answer to that is it's a little bit of a collective wisdom, and what I mean by that is that you'll see a number of events kind of strung together.
Okay.
So the difference between a challenge and then one that the universe is trying to tell you to turn around is, let me take the positive side. If it's something you're supposed to pursue, it may be difficult. Let's say it's trying to get through a level of education or complete a degree, but you'll still get reinforcements. Like all of a sudden you got the student loan you didn't expect, or an instructor says, let me take you under my wing. So you get reinforcements from the universe to say, okay, they're like signposts.
Okay.
Now, when you stop getting any signposts, that's when you say, okay, now the universe is really trying to tell me, do a U-turn. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That was a good question.
Yeah.
Next question. Were the mythological gods and goddesses of Norse, Roman, Egyptian, and Greek real?
That's a firm yes and a no, but let me explain this. There's a difference between all the gods or goddesses you just named off, because some of them actually had human interaction. So those were people that actually walked the planet. There were others that were mythological. So I think the answer to that question is you have to go back through history. So there was much more human interaction from some of those individuals. So they were actually real people. And there were some that no human interaction per se, and they were more mystical. Yeah.
Okay. If there's different, I used to love those Sinbad movies.
Sure.
If there are different levels of heaven, will we be able to see loved ones who may not be on the same vibrational level?
Yeah, absolutely. This is an easy one because the question does come up a lot. Depending on how you evolve through life, you will, you're in different levels in heaven, so to speak, but you can certainly visit. So that's the key. You can visit family members, other individuals on different levels, but you can't stay there.
Right.
That's the key.
Right. Lots
So,
of times when I'm reading, I'll see a parent that died years before, vibrationally is on a higher level, can see
right.
the family, maybe even the dad went, and they'll be like, why isn't my dad with her? Well, he's not quite there yet.
Exactly. Exactly.
Will enough people get the COVID vaccine to provide herd immunity?
There will be. It's actually going to be a confluence of factors. So it looks like to me within next year, probably something like about the second quarter of next year, that we'll see something like 80% of the world's population vaccinated. So it's a little bit of that, a tremendous number of the amount of the population of the world getting vaccinated, along with building up of just normal antibodies. So the answer is yes, but I don't see it this year. So
Okay. Testimony has been given that seems to implicate not only Chauvin, but other officers present for the murder of Mr. Floyd. Will any of the other officers be tried and face consequences?
yeah, you know what? I think there's I'm going what the guides are telling me, and what I think there were like 3 other officers besides what Strava who were implicated. What it seems to me is that there's an additional 2 officers that will get convicted, but then there's also some sort of a bit of a negotiation with the main trial. So there's some evidence that's brought forward that helps the main trial, so it reduces the level of some of the severity of the charges of other 2 officers. But it looks like there's a 3rd officer that somehow doesn't have to go through the court system. It's like somehow he gets excused, this other 3rd officer. I don't know what's going
Right.
on with it, but yeah.
Okay. Do you see President Biden helping Central America with the mass migration of immigrants into the United States?
Yes, I do, on multiple levels. So I see not just dialogue and diplomatic efforts, but also some financial efforts, and then also working with these world leaders in order to kind of help stem the reasons why there's such a mass, immigration. So I do see that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. By the way, I know that you maybe saw this in the news, but they're going to use in Southern California here, the Pomona Fairgrounds, to house a lot of the illegal immigration, right? Children and whatnot. So they're making plans in Southern California to help with some of that.
Okay. Okay, good. Will the Google CEO regret the decision to let 45 back on YouTube? I had no idea he was back on YouTube.
Yeah. What I get that is almost like a swing in the wind. So it's like 45 is back on, but then within about 6-7 months he's back off. So it's like not really a
He's
regret, but
going
it's
over
like,
the legal limits.
right. So no regret, but it's just like, okay, we can't go there again.
Right,
He's off.
right. Well,
He's
I
off.
guess he had a meeting at Mar-a-Lago, and he told once again that he had won, and that McConnell is horrible, and some other top people. He just said they're awful and stupid. He called McConnell stupid. He's sly, but he's not stupid. Not
Yeah.
compared to Trump. So
Well, the good news is that a lot of the individuals that were committed to him, it's starting to wane. A lot of that
I
confidence.
saw that. Yeah, an article was written.
Yeah, it's backsliding in a big way, like we all forecast. Remember, you and I talked, and I said,
Yeah.
look, a lot of chaos the first 2 quarters of this year. Absolutely, after the election was over, put your seatbelt on. So
Yeah.
as we get into the 3rd, 4th quarter of this year, and I just got a cold chill, there's a confirmation, 3rd, 4th quarter this year, that it's going to start to simmer down. So,
And I think a lot of information now that they're in the White House and going through everything, a lot of stuff's going to come out that's just plain ugly.
yeah, and I think there's thousands of indictments ready to go across, federal and state, and they're just waiting to kind of stitch it all together in a way that's, bulletproof, so to speak. So,
Right.
yeah.
Joe Manchin, Senator, against changing the filibuster in West Virginia. Will he continue to block Democratic policies in the foreseeable future?
You know, he's certainly going to try. But what I see on that is that for some reason, whatever effect he has is somehow minimized. So it's whether they negotiate him at the very last minute, get him to come across correctly, but he's going to like go kicking and screaming, but somehow the effect is going to be minimized. So,
Can I tell you what I flashed on this morning, and I'll tell my
sure.
people this afternoon. I definitely saw when they were talking about Joe Manchin, I saw that some of the Republicans are going to work with Biden and get him to take off some chunks, including senior citizens, I'm sorry to say, but bring it down, bring the amount they were going to tax a few percentages down. And then Joe Manchin has no choice but to vote for it because it's bipartisan. But I also feel the 2022 elections are going to make Joe Manchin like a has-been.
No, that's very true. He's kind of signing his own death wish, so to speak. So all the things he's doing are going to move him out. And I think he represents what, Kern County and
Yeah.
in Bakersfield. I forget now where he's at,
But the thing is that what'll happen is then when the Democrats are the stronger in the House, they'll be able to do those extra things they wanted to do.
yeah. So I think we're agreeing that if somehow his effect on the voting is going to be minimized, I think they're going to be able to bring him back. Yeah.
Oh, I accidentally missed a question. Will Kevin McCarthy, House GOP leader, lose his seat in the 2022 election?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. There were eyewitness reports of flights of dragons over the north of England. Do dragons really exist?
This is like where some portions of reality mix with mythology. So some people, what they've actually seen are some alien encounters, but they aren't dragons. So there's somehow mythology got mixed with real occurrences. So people have seen objects, things that may have reminded them of dragon. Maybe they're reptilians or some, but they're not dragons. So
Okay.
hope that helps. Weren't flying dragons spitting fire.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. What is the future of quantum computing technology?
Good question. What a range of questions on this show.
Isn't this great? It's just so good. It's very interesting. Yeah.
So an exciting future for quantum computing, because we're not less than about a few years away from major developments of quantum computing. You looked at, not to get nerdy for a second, but the beauty of quantum computing is it's not just zeros and ones, which define a lot of current computers, and binary, but you have what's called superposition with quantum computing. So you have 4 different states, but they're trying to get to 4,000 qubits. I know they're telling me about, anyway, so within like 2 years, 3 years, we'll see a major development in quantum computing. And the beauty of that some big data calculations that would take years to do, it will take seconds. So, and actually, here's the thing, it's probably not such great news for blockchain technology, which is a lot of technology behind cryptocurrency, but with supercomputing, you'll be able to decrypt a lot of the blockchain technology. So anyway, it's an advancement in one area and a little bit of a decline in the other. So technology moves forward.
Okay. Why do you think Barr started the investigation on Gates?
What I get there is that's a timing thing. So that, like the Gates investigation, was wrapped up around when he was there with Trump around sex trafficking or something. But the current investigation is Merrick Garland behind. So I guess the question was about Barr, right? At Barr?
Yeah. Why do you think Barr started it? I feel like his back was against the wall and he had no choice.
Yeah, I know, but for me, it goes back to the sex trafficking investigation when 45 was in the White House. So that's how that got grouped in. Yeah.
Okay. Do you see anything coming up next week?
I do. I do see aggressive movement on that $2 trillion infrastructure program. I really feel there's some good things happening there. I unfortunately, like last week, I do see more gun violence. You know, between last week and this week, I think there were 4 major gun violence events this past week. You probably saw some of that, including the NFL player that killed that entire family. But there's some more gun violence. And I do somehow, Nancy Pelosi's been a little quiet, but I do feel she's coming back into the press and the media this week with like some more news, more announcements. She's been a little quiet, but I feel like we're going to hear from her this week. I do,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you have any information that you guys want to share?
Yes, absolutely. So the one thing I got consistently this week to tell everybody was please share your spiritual gifts. Like the world needs it now more than ever. So if you have any kind of a spiritual gift, please share it, which just creates a great energy flow right among everybody and will really help kind of shift the consciousness in the universe. So
I'll tell you that prayer works too.
it does. It does.
Because we had a little 4-year-old twin that my daughter's nephew that got accidentally run over by his mother with the van, got dragged. And I asked everybody, could you pray? And I'm telling you, the kid's doing fantastic.
It was a miracle, miraculous.
The doctors are saying it's a miracle.
In 24 hours.
Over his head.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, anyway, that's a great demonstration of the power of prayer in the universe. And
there you go. I'm a total believer, my friend.
Absolutely.
So,
right in front of you.
Right. So thank you, everybody. Don't forget, next Friday we're doing our dead famous.
Exactly. And as always, I was gonna say, as always, if anyone wants to reach out to me, it's sterlingpsychicmedium.com.
Right. And I'll put the link in here. Okay. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Always good. Thank you.
Thank you.